Hey, Mama, welcome back to Fun Rich Mom. I am Mitch Blackford, and I'm so glad to have you here today for our Come As You Are episode with my friend, Rebekah Claborn. She is a mom of 4 with a brand new baby. She just popped out number 4 like 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago. And so life has become a big adjustment, and we are going through what it's like to be a homeschooling mom of kids ages 10 all the way to 2 months, including her husband having a brand new job right as this all happened. So lots of changes, lots of fun stuff. And she has this really cool thing that she and her husband do every week to get back on track and stay on top of things. I think you're going to love it. And then, of course, we end with our shotgun style questions. So I would love to hear your answers to those as well. You got to email me, hello@funrichmom, or drop a comment. Let me know what your answers would be. So with that, let's get started. Have you ever been on a podcast before?
I haven't. I love listening to them. And I've been putting
Oh,
off doing my own for like 2 years now. Like literally the chair I'm sitting in, I have because I was like, I'm gonna record a podcast and I need an on-brand chair. And then I have never like just made myself sit down and do it.
I love it. You should. You should. It's super fun. So, first of all, thanks for being on this one. I appreciate you spending your time, especially since you have a newborn baby.
I was so
And
excited when you reached out. So I'm thrilled to be
oh,
here.
good. Oh, good, good, good. Well, so Rebekah, tell us a little bit about who you are and your family so everyone can get to know like the chaos that
The
is
ca-
circling
l-
around you, and the fact that you're able to be here is awesome.
I literally refer to my family or my kids specifically as the Claiborne Chaos Crew because alliteration's fun.
Yes.
So I'm Rebekah Claiborne. I'm married to Colton. We've been married going on 12 years. No, yes, 12 years. Okay. I was like, I knew we did 10 a while ago. Um,
We got a decade in.
we
Do I
got a
need to know more
decade
than
in.
that?
Well, we've got 4 kids, ranging from 10 down to 2 months old, and we homeschool. And I'm also a photographer because being a tiny human handler isn't enough apparently to keep me busy. So lots of plates spinning in the air.
For sure. So, okay, so you've got the 2 oldest are boys and then the 2 youngest
Yes,
are girls, correct?
yes.
And
The
so I have a
teams are
question for you
even.
because
Okay.
I only have I know that's true. That's true. Oh my gosh, I didn't think about that. So I only have girls.
Uh-huh.
And now I kind of have experience with boys in the fact that when I married my husband, he had a teenage son that lived with us.
Uh-huh.
And so, but I parented in reverse, from
Mm-hmm.
teenage years on, and then we went back to babies. So if you had to choose, which seems like the easier to handle, boys or girls, or is
Boys.
it just they all really so
Boys. I mean,
easy?
granted, I only have the one girl. I mean, Evelyn's 3. So I only have the one to really like base this off because Ossie's just now giving her personality, like starting to have some sign of personality. Um, but like Evelyn is a mini mama. I mean, she was 18 months old and helping dress the boys. Like we're trying to go to co-op and they're not dressed and she's like bringing them like pants and shirts, like get this on, you know? So
Well,
she
that's
is
cute.
very decided, very opinionated. So she's so much fun. Like, and I'm not a girly girl. I was not a girly girl growing up. I hated everything pink and flowers and dresses, hated it. Now I'm like, yes, let's throw on a ball gown type thing. So the fact that she's like, yes, let's get dressed up. Let's do my hair or not, because her hair is super curly and crazy. But so she's just, there's a lot more opinions you have to work through with her. She's also, let's see, has already gone to the ER when she was like 2.
Oh, wow.
She's like a black eye every other month. She's a little girl raised by brothers. And so she's super rough and tumble or wants to be. She's fearless. And so it's just so hard. The boys, it is just, there's less of a mental battle. Like, yes, they have no sense of self-preservation, but like there's less mental work I feel like I have to jump through to get things going. So I feel like, and then also like she stares at you when she's doing something wrong. Like I'm breaking a rule and I'm gonna let you watch me while I do it type thing. And I feel
I,
like the
I'm
boys
going to
aren't like
dare you
that.
to say something.
Yes.
just say something.
Yeah, she's like, please. We say repeatedly because she's so cute. She does the whole like, oh, like look at me, I'm adorable when she asks for things, and I'm like, thank goodness she wasn't our first because she'd get away with everything. I mean, she
Yeah.
almost does now. Um, but yeah, like she's been our first, we've been in so much trouble. So, boys hands down.
That's funny. So, and she's still a girly girl because my mom had two older brothers and then it was her. And then a few years later, she had two younger brothers. But
Yeah,
she said she always, because she was always hanging out with her brothers, she tended to be a little bit more of a tomboy because she thought that's just what you do because those were her examples. She was
yeah,
actually really upset because she couldn't pee standing up like they could.
yeah.
So that doesn't seem to be an issue.
No, I mean we do have to explain to her because country family. We live in the country on a couple acres, so like potty training, it's a lot outdoor stuff. So yes, we had to explain to her like, no, you aren't gonna go and stand next to the tree type thing. But yeah, no, she's very. I mean, she wants to be doing what they're doing. She definitely like gets into their stuff, but she also like they full on know if they want her to join in at this point. They go, hey, Evelyn, the show we're gonna watch, there's a girl. Like, and
Oh,
as long as
that's
we mentioned there's a girl, even though it's not remotely a girly show. But so I say her personality is like she'll have a purse that's pink and sparkly, but there's going to be a knife on the inside. Like that's her.
so boys watch out when she gets older, right?
Oh yes. Oh yes.
She's totally going to be that song. I can't remember the Louisville Slugger with, and I'm going to take a knife to your
Oh
tire,
yes.
right?
10 cars to his cars. Yeah,
If
that
someone
one
wrongs
song.
her.
Yes. Oh yeah. She is, and she makes sure you are fully aware that she is not okay with you.
That's funny. That's funny. So 10 years old, you've been married for 12 years, and then you have like a 5-year gap
Hmm.
between Ames and Rowan, right?
Right.
Or what? Okay.
Yeah. It's
So was
fine.
that
So
intentional or?
yes and no. So my big thing when it comes to kids, and I don't talk about it everywhere because I feel like you never know where people's at in their parent journey or like their having children journey. But I was like, you don't really have a say over when you have your kids. Like, honest to goodness.
Mhm.
Like, I hate the question of were they planned, especially when like, you don't see a lot of families having 4 kids nowadays. Like that's considered
Yeah.
big. I'm the baby of 5. So until you hit 5, to me, you're not a big family. But I always say, like, you don't really have control. Like, God decides when and how many kids you're going to have because Ames was super surprised. Like, not quite Mary, you've been blessed with favor by God, surprise baby, but it was up there.
Yeah.
And so there
No
was a
angels
lot,
came to.
no angels came to visit, but it was definitely like we were doing all the things to not have a baby. And it was like, you're having a baby and you're finding out a month before you leave the country. And I had
Oh.
him a month after I got back in the country. So not dramatic at all. Um, but yeah, so there was a lot of emotional stuff I had to work through because that unplanned pregnancy and like the not so much identity crisis of becoming a mom, which I feel like so many people talk about, but it was more of the I wasn't becoming a mom on the timing I had planned, and I'm a
Mm.
huge planner. I let go of that when I had a surprise baby, or I'm working to. And so there was a lot of stuff I had to work through, and it took us probably a good 3 to 4 years for me to be like, okay, I can handle having another kid. And we were like, oh, we got so pregnant so easily with him, it'll be no problem. And it took us a year to get pregnant. I
Mm.
had at least one miscarriage. It was a chemical miscarriage, so very, very early on, possibly two, but only one I know for sure.
Mm.
Um, and it took a good 9 months after that for my body to reset in order for me to be able to get pregnant. So yes, it was planned, but also no, like it would have been closer together. Um, so that I do get that question a lot of do I prefer the bigger age gap versus the smaller age gaps of my younger kids?
Right, because they're all like a year and a half apart,
Oh, no.
basically,
Oh
right?
goodness, no, no.
Or 2
They're
years?
like two. Rowan and Evie are 2.5, and then Evie and Austin are like just almost 3.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yeah,
I thought it was closer. Okay.
yeah. They're just Evie's tiny, so she looks like she's younger than she is.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. So it worked out. Because you said it doesn't feel like you're a big family until you're 5, and I've got the 2,
Yeah,
and I just imagine, so they were in vitro. I didn't have them until I was in 41 and 42.
yeah,
So obviously by the time I was done, I'm like, I'm done. I'm not
yeah.
I'm not going further, but if I had had some younger, if I had had them younger, I'm curious as to, I never know, would I have had more or not, because
Yeah.
you have that experience, especially mine were 15 months apart. It was almost like having twins. Tons of diapers,
Wow.
tons of diapers.
Wow.
What is your day like having four children to wrangle and to raise, and you're homeschooling as well? Obviously, this is where we met. It's actually as our co-op.
Yeah.
And so what is that day like for you? And then when you say well, I'm totally diving in, but so you're a photographer as well. So you
Uh-huh.
can kind of schedule that to a certain extent. And then sometimes there are things where, like if it's an event type thing, you have to go upon their schedule. How do you guys work that out?
So we're still very much in transition and figuring it out phase. I have crazy easy pregnancies. Like most people don't know I'm pregnant. Like I literally saw someone at my church and I'm carrying the baby and she's like, I had no idea you were even pregnant because I don't have a ton of symptoms. I'm very small. My trade-off is my newborns are not easy kids. So at this point I've cut out dairy, I've cut out coffee, I'm sure you've heard me complain at co-op. I've cut out the
Yeah.
caffeine. Um, just trying to get her to like she's can be happy baby during the day. She sleeps great at night, so that's awesome. So we're still figuring out what life looks like. 2 days before I had the fourth baby, my husband started a brand new job. I don't know if we
Oh,
discussed this in personal life. So
no.
he had been working at his previous job for, it would have been a decade this month, and changed from that job to a completely brand new one. And it went from him being like a supervisor to a couple people to the director of environmental permitting for a nationwide company.
Oh, wow.
Bit of a shift. So we're not only going from transitioning from 3 to 4 kids to now he's got a totally different work life. He used to, mostly work from home. It was very flexible to now he's got to follow a pretty typical 9 to 5. So we're just,
Well, that makes more sense why I don't see him anymore.
yes, that is why he's not showing up and, randomly bringing everybody coffee. Um, so we're still like figuring out. So every day is almost looked a little different because one, it's fall, and so it's nuts. There's always something going on and going to different things. And my mom, like she's out here right now walking around with the baby. So I get rotating, like trying to have help. Done a few days solo by myself. Vast majority of my day is right now. I've just accepted it's me sitting in a rocking chair and nursing her or carrying her somewhere. We do homeschool year round, and we started doing that. I think when we moved to our house that we're in now about 2 years ago, and we decided to do that just because we like the flexibility of kid gets sick, we can take a week, we can take a few days off, and I'm not freaking out about I have to meet this deadline. Or with photography, it definitely comes in seasons. In Texas, it's a ton in the fall, a decent amount in the spring. Usually summer tapers off. So it's nice to be a little bit more heavier in the summer. Also, we can be in air conditioning because it's so dang hot. And then fall, I can be like, you know what, we're going to take 2 weeks off because mommy had multiple weddings and portrait sessions and I need to edit and I just don't have the mental space. So Ms. Frizzle has been doing a lot of guest teaching the past few days just because I'm like, oh, this is really tiring. And right now, honestly, mornings are our hardest part of the day, just because of getting my kids are super early risers. And I'm like, y'all, I want to sleep as much as I can, but daddy's not here in the mornings anymore. So letting them get their low stimulating but educational show in the morning so I can get me fed. And then because I feel like the baby's almost immediately going to sleep. So it's still very like we haven't really figured out our routine yet. One thing that I've been loving that's come out of my husband having a more typical office job is I feel like family time in the evening has become much more intentional. Like used to, it happened at any time. It wasn't a big deal. Now it's like, oh, the weather's nice. We're all gonna just go like play in the front yard, or just hang out in the same space with each other. And now it's much more focused because daddy's not here to do that all the time. And so that's been really great that we'll have dinner and then we'll just go out and sit outside for a little bit before baby starts to have witching hour because, that lovely thing, or we need to get people bathed. One thing we do that does help us just for the week, we started earlier this year, is we call it the State of the Union. And we do it every Sunday typically, unless like something's happening, then we'll move it to like Saturday. But we get the kids watching. It's usually after church. We've had lunch, and then the kids get to watch a movie, and they get loaded up with snacks. And then we
Yeah.
usually, back when I was drinking coffee, I'd make me a coffee, and we'd sit down and we talk about what's going on for the week. Monday we've got co-op. Our oldest son is in a special occupational therapy 3 days a week. So we got to, okay, who's going on this day? We doing this time? What do they have to bring anything special for co-op? What days are they off? What days is Colton going to the office? What days are he working from home? He still gets to do a little bit of work from home, and like any appointments that are happening. And that way we just aren't going into the week of, wait, what are we doing? Where are you? What's happening? Oh, I forgot about that. Like, we do meal planning. If there's anything like a to-do list, like, hey, this appointment needs to be scheduled. We got to prep lunches today, like that sort of thing. We do. And that we don't know how we went so long without doing that. And that's why our big like saver right now is having that weekly meeting to have a clue what's going on.
I love that idea. That's a great, so you're just all on the same page. You're prepping it out in advance. What a great, yeah, you're right. Great time
Yeah.
saver. And it just probably gives you a big relief because you know what to anticipate and
Yes.
we've already got any challenges handled. That's
Yeah,
a great.
it's literally like we almost like we've started keeping a Google Doc that if we have talking points, we write down because we put on the Google Doc. So we have talking points for road trips. We are not your normal couple. Okay, we're weird. Um, we love it, but we're so weird. But we like so if we have a talking point, we'll put it on there, and then because we'll forget otherwise. Biggest thing is going through. My oldest has ADHD. And it, like, more I learn about him, to go like, I'm pretty sure I have it too. And so anything we can do to help remember stuff and like keep track. But then I get a blank piece of paper. We print out a monthly calendar, and we're like writing on the days. And then I'm writing on my clipboard. Here's Monday, here's Tuesday, here's Wednesday. So I can just look at the day and go, oh, this is what's happening today, and like cross it off because we love all checking off a to-do list. But
Yes,
yeah,
it feels so good. You're so accomplished.
yes. And you add stuff you already did to the to-do list just so you can knock it off.
It's true. I made my bed. Let me write that on there.
Let me write that down.
For sure. I like that. So Andrew and I, we have the shared calendar on our phones,
Mm-hmm.
and we're kind of the same way. We're like, I used to have the sharpest memory. I never kept a calendar. I would remember everything, and then
Yes.
literally, I don't know, it was after babies, mom brain kicked in. I don't know what it was, but literally, I just, like, you tell me, it was in
I'm
one ear out the other.
I'm convinced
Yeah,
they take brain cells out when they come out,
yeah.
because my second one, I used to be great. I've got a lip minor. I used to do all this stuff. After my second one, I cannot catch a typo to save my life. Like,
Yeah.
doing Instagram stories, and you write out, you think this, and then you post it and you look at it later and go like, wait, like there's
Oh
obviously
man.
something doesn't make sense. But I'm like, yeah, that went with him. So I've just
Yeah.
concluded they just take certain brain cells and they don't give them back.
It's true. So we joke around. If it's not on the calendar or if it wasn't written down, it doesn't exist. And I
Yeah.
even tell Andrew, like, if he'll ask me, like, oh, hey, can you do this? I'm like, if you don't write it down, you can't get mad at me if it doesn't get done.
Yes.
That's our rule
Yes.
because it's the same thing. Otherwise, you don't remember. So yeah, I'm constantly referring to my calendar, like, oh, what do we have today? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Good
I
thing that I
keep the
know that.
clipboard in the kitchen because then I can be like prepping something and I just look over and I can like see the list. I'm like, oh, right, I was supposed to do that thing.
So you guys meal prep all of your meals at the beginning of the week. Is that with the lunches and stuff? Is that what I'm hearing, or
We're
just kind
we're
of
well,
plan it out?
lunches for co-op. So we got to get the lunches done in co-op, and if they don't happen like the day before, it's just a mess the next day. We're meal planning is like we're figuring out what works, because I'm the one that, like, I love cooking. I love being in the kitchen. I hate meal planning. Like, I
Mm.
love getting HelloFresh or something, and like,
Oh yeah.
all the ingredients are together, and like I can just enjoy cooking and it's so pretty. Um and so just the mental load of having to figure out what we need to eat and what we need to get for that and whatnot, for a while, I was like, I just can't stand doing this. So Colton would do it for a while. The problem is I'm the one with all the dietary restrictions and
Oh no.
preferences, so it has to be filtered through me anyways. So I'm trying, especially with him being in the office more, I'm trying to transition back into like, okay, let me just run through my recipe binder and pick out stuff and we go with that. And we try to like, okay, what meat's in the freezer, and shop back and like, plan backwards. But we usually try to do like, yeah, 3 or 4 meals that week, and then know if we've got like some easy breakfast things. Um, but we don't like do the meal prep where everyone like cooks and like, put it in a container in the fridge. That sounds awesome. We're not on that level yet.
Yeah. That's really advanced people.
Yes, not we're not there.
Okay, and then you have all the different age ranges. Do they
Yes,
pretty much eat what you put in front of them, or
absolutely
are
not.
you having Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah. The so that's what I'll like fix them. I'm like, well, I know like the 3-year-old will eat whatever. She's super excited to try all the things. The 5-year-old, he wants to eat like a Viking. So basically, is we just fix him meat, ideally one that has a bone in it.
That because he sits at my
We
table for
probably feed
lunch.
him
I
at
notice
lunch.
he's always
Yes,
got a
yes.
drumstick of
We
something.
we strategically cook ribs or chicken legs periodically to make sure like he will eat protein. So I feel like that's I'm just trying to get protein in you. Yes. So yeah, he just wants to eat meat. He literally walked up to me the other day and was like, "Mom, what species of meat do we have in the fridge?" Yes. Can't get him to eat beef though. Even we're like, "Bud, it's like the meatest of meat. Like you should be all over
Right?
this." But he's no
Give
interest
him a
in that.
T-bone steak.
I'll try. He loves a rib. He loves a baby back rib and a chicken leg.
Mm.
Those are his favorite things.
That's a man
And
after
then
my own heart. I love those two things too.
same, same. And then the oldest, he's pretty flexible, but we're trying to do his therapy wants to have him go like dairy free and gluten free, which
Mm.
is so hard. Because like dairy's in everything, and then he
Yeah.
loves his mac and cheese. And he's pretty flexible. Funny enough, when he was like 18 months old, he tried Thai curry for the first time. And so for when he was little, you could not feed him American food. You don't, it had to be Asian or Italian. So
Really?
like his big treat is like, hey bud, you want to go get some Thai curry? And he's like, yes. And so we'll all like load up and get all the Thai food. So we're trying to get the littles on the Asian food
Hmm.
train because that is also mommy and daddy's comfort food is to go
Yeah.
get like Thai or Indian. So they
Oh, ugh.
haven't learned to appreciate that flavor profile yet. But so no, I just try to always when I come to fixing a meal like Veggies and Virtues is a an account I follow on Instagram, and she's like a child. I don't know if it's nutritionist or dietitian. I always forget the difference, but her whole thing is like just put out something they'll love. You know they're going to
Hmm.
eat every time. Something they like, something they'll like eat, half the time, and then something that they're trying or
Hmm.
might try. So we tried it on a good day. I'm doing that, but that doesn't happen every day. So
Yeah. Yeah. So what does your homeschooling schedule look like? Especially, that you have a 10-year-old that you're schooling and he has one curriculum, and then you've got 5-year-old, 3-year-old, and obviously the baby, I'm guessing, is more just really basics ABCs, but what's your day look like as far as homeschooling?
so right now we've like really been dialing back on what we're doing just because of capacity of life. We're very limited to actually like be there. And we sat down even before the baby was born. I kind of went through and was like, what is the bare minimum our oldest could be doing that he's still getting what he needs. He's covering all the subjects that he needs to be covering, but we're not overwhelming him. Um, we're always trying to navigate like what's the best path to do with school with him with his special needs mentally, with ADHD processing and such. And so we do math, and I get all my stuff from Timberdoodle right now. I love Timberdoodle. They're not a
Oh, I'll have to check
curriculum.
them out.
They are a homeschool family that everyone just went, wow, we love what you're using. Where do you get it? So they just started selling it. So they'll have like a curriculum for
Oh.
reading, a curriculum for math, and you can build it and customize it. So it's not all one style. And one thing I really love about them is they include logic and critical thinking as one of the subjects. So they have a
Mm.
lot of like games and puzzles for kids to do. So that's where I get all my stuff. So he does math, and then we use Spelling UC, I think is what it's called, and it's very simple and it's very short. But I like that where he's on like year 3 or 4 with it now, and it is I love homeschool stuff that can take multiple subjects in one
Hmm.
activity. So right now he's doing spelling, which involves him having to do reading, and he's learning about American history, all in
Oh,
a short
cool.
little paragraph every day. So I love that. It's very simple and it's covering the basis. And then we have an app he's doing for piano because I was like, I all my kids are going to be forced to learn piano. I don't care. I did like a year of it when I was a kid, and I've lost most of my skills, and I wish I'd done more. But I think every kid should go through piano. To just have foundation.
How's he liking it? Is he actually able to
He
learn?
likes it. He's learning. I mean, we have some like sheet music he can play and do. He's kind of getting to that point where it's getting a little bit harder, and so it's just like, okay, you have to push yourself to like actually learn this. But I wanted to give him some sort of easy intro, because I didn't want to commit to getting him a teacher if I didn't know if he was actually going to like do good with this. So I was like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
the app costs like for a year what it would have been to have a teacher in 1 month. So I was like,
Oh,
this is
okay.
an easy start. We're not having to like go to a lesson and such. So he's liking it. He's doing really good on it. So he does that a little bit every day, and then we always try to have him read something. Right now I have these guidepost books that were from like when I was a kid, and each one's like a different Bible story, and so he just has to read that to himself. So very simple and basic for his. We used to do a ton more. Like I've got the science, he's got like logic puzzles, and we used to do like 6 or 7 things a day. Right now, just for our capacity and such to feel like he's doing these do, he's kind of buried down to that. But I'm also very, if he comes out and goes, I want to build a swamp diorama because they watched the swamp episode of Magic School Bus and they love crocodiles, I'd be like, okay. And I say okay, and because I forgot that their version of diorama is outside in the dirt with the water hose.
Oh,
Um, so they'd be like, okay, that's fine. And then I have to cut it off at some point and be like, all right, let's do some sort of presentation. So I try to like follow their interest. If they want to do some random project that's far, okay, let's do it. Like, and then I like to do what's called reverse engineering homeschool, especially for when they're little. It's like, well, what do they do today? Well, what did they get out of that? So they play with Legos for an hour. Well, that's a
mm-hmm.
STEM activity. That's problem solving. That's, building and such. Um, so I'm very kind of try to be relaxed with it because I was homeschooled until I was 10 or
Oh,
11-ish. And then I went to public school for like 5 years. And then I was homeschooled to graduate high school when I really just went to college when I was 15.
oh, wow.
So
Okay.
I have a very kind of relaxed perspective on homeschooling because I've
Mm-hmm.
been through it and I've got the bachelor's degree, I've got the master's degree. I'm like, there's so much that I learned in school. I don't remember it. I don't use it in everyday life. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
um, with the littles, I don't know why I'm having the hardest time just pulling the trigger on doing stuff with them. And they ask, so we'll do little stuff, but I'm just like, I don't know why. There's just a hump there that I have to get over. But I know legally I don't have to do anything until they're 6 in the state of
Right.
Texas. So I'm just like, the 5-year-old wants to do stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. But he's asking to do math. He like wrote a word, which I didn't know he was like actually good enough to write his own letters last night to Colton, and phonetically it was correct. Was it a word that be recognized in English, like, if you typed
Sure.
into Google? No, it's not. It's going to get the red squiggles. But phonetically it was correct, and he was like, it's a new monster in Monster Hunter. And we're like, okay, sure. So I got it. I just go like, once we get over Christmas, we always kind of restart our new year in January. Um, Typically. I was like, I will start kind of getting more formal with him. And then the 3-year-old has to do whatever big brothers are doing. So will kind of evolve. But right now I've got like the little animal counter things. So they get a little
Mm-hmm.
map put out and it's like, okay, well, the farmer has a red horse in the pasture. Can you put a red horse in the pasture? And like they have to put it there and
Mm-hmm.
then follow the instructions and then tell me how many of each animals and such. So I do very light stuff because I'm also like, they're so little. They just need to play and be read to. And so
Mm-hmm.
that's the majority of what they get.
That's cool. And then, so on 2 acres, do you guys have any animals? Is any time spent taking care of that, or what's that like?
We have a big white dog. I love a Great Pyrenees for little kids because they're just nannies. So we will always have a Pyrenees dog while we have little ones. And then we have way more cats than I care to admit. If you want one, I will gladly bring you one over.
Oh,
Didn't get we had a couple that didn't get fixed in time.
oh
So
no.
plenty of barn cats. And
I
then
have lots of fur.
we've recently acquired a fish tank full of catfish because my
A fish
parents caught it.
tank.
We have a fish tank, and then my kids were over at my parents' house, and they have a couple of ponds on their acreage, and one had gotten filled with catfish. We think it ran off from like a neighbor's pond that they were stocking, and so they caught all these baby catfish, and my kids were obsessed with them, so they filled up a fish tank and brought it here. So we now have a fish tank with catfish and snails and like some goby fish or something. Um,
Oh, wow.
I am not. I love the idea of like having the chickens and all the stuff. But and my husband's like definitely the like, we should get chickens because he wants the eggs. And I'm like, I know it costs more to keep the chickens than it does to
Than to
buy
buy
the
the eggs
eggs.
at the store.
And I don't want to have to deal with that right now. So I love the idea of it. Not at the moment. He went on a huge homesteading, like podcast kick and whatnot. So is it in our future? Maybe. Right now, my neighbors have emus
Oh, no way.
and a tortoise that wanders their yard, plus a dozen other bird species. So, like, I'm like, if I want the pleasantry of looking at them, I can just look across the fence.
That's not your everyday animal that you're looking at.
No, I thought we'd be the weird neighbors on the street. We are not. They win that.
That's funny. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I have there's a gosh, she runs Tonic, and they make websites
Yes, yes, I
or
know who you're talking
website
about. Jen
templates.
Homestead, I think that's her name.
Yes, and so she
Yes.
talks about the fact that her dad thought for some reason there was going to be like this huge ostrich market, and so they had an ostrich farm.
Oh my goodness.
It's like, okay, everyone's got their thing, so
Yeah,
he had his thing.
they have a dozen emus, and I do not know why.
That is
And
a
I
lot.
yeah, yeah. I'm just what my kids are like, Mom, they have emus. I'm like, no, they don't. You're just, and then I'm like, they do. Like, what on earth? And they've got two. It's wild. I have so many
Oh,
questions, but
that's funny. Okay, so what is the most stressful part of the day for you?
morning.
Morning,
Yes.
just getting
It's
going.
just, I mean, you get up and you're trying to make sure you're taking care of, because I've learned, like, with each kid you learn something different. The first one, nothing, because you're just freaked out because you have a baby. But the second one was like the concept of the mental load. The third one, I learned I have to take care of me. I'm like, I will straight up tell my kids, like, if mommy doesn't eat food right now, mommy's gonna feel terrible, and then mommy can't take care of y'all. So trying to get me taken care of, like, in the morning, and the baby, I feel like we just got up, but now she needs to go back down for another nap, and the kids are all needing things. And so it's just that transition's hard, and I love getting up early, but I'm just not going to do it if I know a kid's going to wake up or the baby's going to wake up early. I'm just like, there's no point then for me to, be up at 5 a.m. I would love to be that, but I will start doing that later. So it's just getting that transition of being up, and I'm having to learn to let go of the no TVs in the morning and this and that. And so now kind of our routine is, usually a kid wakes up about the time my husband's leaving. Sometimes they don't. So what he does is he leaves a note for the oldest, because he's the only one that's reading. So he leaves a note for the oldest with instructions, and then I've instructed him to, my husband, to leave everyone a juice cup. That way, that's at least one, hey, mom, is removed.
Yes.
Because like, if they can at least get up and get a juice cup, they've got something that they don't have to come and ask me for, so I can have a little bit more space to get up in the morning. So that's our hardest thing. And I'm recovering from being that planner person who, like, has a checklist, and X amount isn't done before noon, I'm a failure. That, like, mentality. Even though I feel like I let that go 10 years ago, I'm still having to work to be like, okay, we don't need to have this done. Like, it's okay. We stay in our pajamas all day and nothing gets accomplished. It's all right. So that morning, that transition and having to reset that mentality is definitely my hardest.
Yeah, I can see that. And then how do you and Colton find time just to have mommy daddy time? Or, just like it's our time together without kids?
It's been so hard between the new job with the baby and such. Lately it's been hard, but it's really just little pockets of, he comes home from work, and apart from like magic school bus in the morning, we try to not have TV come on until at least 2 p.m. School has been done, chores have been done, and then they can watch TV. And so that usually keeps them occupied out of our hair. So it's him and me just like sitting on the couch with the baby. And usually we're just making, silly noises and faces at the baby and laughing about that. But little pockets of that, like, we're all outside together, just getting like chat and have conversation. We we were very optimistic and probably foolishly. And about, maybe, I think 6 weeks after I had the baby, I had a photography workshop in Sherman, so a 2-hour drive. And I booked it before I had the baby because we're like, oh yeah, we'll be fine. It's fourth kid. We know what we're doing. That's a lie to anyone who tells, like, oh, we've done this before. Like, no, you forget everything that happens the first 2 months. And so I was going to do this workshop, and originally I was just going to go by myself. And then we weren't sure. She was kind of iffy on if she'd take a bottle and different stuff. And the photographer who runs it is super awesome. Also homeschooling mom. She's done some business coaching with me, and she had a baby 6 months ago. So she was like, "Yeah, bring the baby. Like postpartum's wild. Like it's fine." She's like, "I will hold the baby. It's okay." So he and I went, and we love like time to sit in the car together without kids, because you can't have a
Mm.
conversation with kids in the car unless you've got them fully enwrapped on a podcast or something. Then you get told to be
Mhm.
quiet because you're being too loud and they can't hear. Um,
Yeah.
but we love getting to go on like a road trip and or just a decent drive, and we can just talk, and like we seriously, if we have a long drive, we have talking points. Or at least he makes those. I don't write them down. I might think of a couple, but like I also know he's gonna have a list. And we
I
just
love
sit
that.
there and we chit chat about the most random things. Like the last one was when we were driving up there. Like there's been some drama happening in the wedding industry, local and national. And he's just, because of his new job, he's not as like aware of things as I am in general. And we just hadn't been talking. And so I was like filling him in on that. And and I was like, oh, he's probably not gonna care. He's like, oh wait, like tell me more about this and whatnot. So, it's dumb stuff, it's serious stuff, it's, the politic things and whatnot. And so we love a good car drive.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. It's true. Yeah, car drives can really make the difference. We were just in the car for 3 days with our kids.
Where'd y'all go?
We went to Utah
Oh,
to visit some
nice.
of my family, and
Yeah.
then so we drove there, we took 3 days to drive there, and then on our way back, we went down to Arizona to see some of Andrew's coworkers, and then driving through randomly found this reindeer farm on the side of the road in Arizona, which was awesome. The reindeer ate all of our clothes. It was crazy. You had these little cups that you would feed them, and
Oh my
afterwards
goodness.
they just wanted to keep eating. So they'd grab your shirt and just like
Wow. I would
running
never
away
have
from these
thought
reindeer.
reindeer in
Yeah.
Arizona. That is like,
Yeah.
that sounds really fun, but then I also know you had to drive through West Texas, and that was like one of the most miserable drives
It was a
ever.
long drive. It was a
Yeah.
long drive for
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, it was funny because we had coloring books packed. We actually had school books packed. They had these sticker books and they had their tablets. So there was a lot of tablet time because, it's just long days in the car.
Yes.
And it'd be
Yes.
funny because most of the time they have they call them their earmuffs, their headphones. But they're like, put your earmuffs on. And we have music up on in the front. We talk, and every now and then they take it off because their ears would hurt. And they'd be like, can you turn your music down? It's really loud.
You are so loud. What are you doing? Yeah. Yeah, we get that. They
Yeah,
do, ours have
totally.
Yodos. So we try to like keep them on do you know what a Yodo is?
No, what is
It's
that?
it's an audiobook player for kids. But
Oh, that is cool.
the books are on a little like card. It's like a playing card side. And so they put that in it, and that plays their audiobook from that. And so the boys have those. So we try to be like, they play it in the back, or they can put their headphones on if they each want to have their own. But yeah,
Yeah,
we do that, or and then like after a while I'm like, okay, well we got to do a tablet thing. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
tablet saves you on those long trips.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because there's only so much reading at their age that they do. We take up, okay, let's read some books, and they'd read,
Hmm.
and then after a while, it's like, okay. But no, I get it. So, what's probably the best part of your day
The
or
best part
week?
of my week. They're all blending. Honestly, we're in that state of they're all blending together, and like I'm looking at my calendar of how many different things we have going on. I'm just like, oh my goodness, I'm just trying to survive next week. I think it's really that pocket of Colton's come home, dinner's been done,
Mm.
and like there's like a sense of like peace, and like we can just like sit for a minute. Anytime I get a really good meal with a lot of protein, I get super happy, just because so much of my diet has been removed. And like the happy part of my
Oh,
day was I'm I joke I take my coffee very seriously. Like I don't drink a ton, but like if I do, it's better be good. And so the fact I'm not having any right now, like this is tea, um, just doesn't hit the same. So like that used to be like my highlight. But just because even he was like, you want to pick up takeout Tuesday night? It was like, so you don't have to worry about dinner. And I was like, I have to research everything to know if I can even eat it. So I was like, it's not even
mm.
exciting. I'll just make something. So when I get like a really good meal, that's good, because I'm like I can like physically feel better, and then just like mentally I'm like, okay, I'm eating something that's good for me. Like I'm comforted. So like that's probably a big thing right now, just because that's a major
It's
linchpin to
getting a good
everyone
meal.
being happy.
And that's all due to breastfeeding and what your baby can handle, right?
Yes. So she's got like some reflux and gas issues. And so it's one of those of it's just if she wasn't asleep, she was fussing basically.
I
And it was
hear
just
her.
hard. Actually, I think that's a 3-year-old. I'm sure she's fighting
Oh,
with
well, okay. Okay.
brothers out like there's the fish tank is on the other side of this wall. So I'm sure one of
Uh
them's trying to play with the fish and Big Brother's probably policing it. Um yeah, you can get that whole like, here's why boys are easier because you have to combat that. Um, we had an argument yesterday because she wanted the blanket the baby had. She had decided it was her blanket. I was like, well, you can't take the blanket from the baby. It's not okay. Um, trying to remember what we were talking about.
You know what? I just blinked too.
I just blanked. It
Usually
was
I'm
like
pretty good about
best
it,
Friday.
but
Oh, why I was cutting
oh,
everything
best.
out. Yes. So
Oh,
she
that's
was
right.
basically just like fussing and crying during the day if she wasn't like nursing or asleep. And she just, we'd had issues with reflux in the past. So I knew all the signs. So she had like a
Uh,
lip tongue released at like 3 days old. And yeah, I mean, so I was literally throwing everything at the wall. So she's on her probiotic. We had a lactation consultant come see her. I need to get us both back into the chiropractor.
mm,
But we'd cut, yeah, all the dairy and I was like, caffeine I know can cause an issue. I was like, I cut out coffee just in case the acid was a thing. Because I was literally like just wiping out because I have my first wedding tomorrow. So I was like, I need her to be a happy baby. Um,
right.
so I knew this just month, and even though I tried to keep this fall as light as I could, um, I just was gonna have a lot of time where I had to be out of the house and I needed her to be a happy kid for someone else. So I've just eliminated all that stuff to help her, and she's doing much better. Plus, I mean, she's, every day getting a little bit older, getting a little bit more mature to dish the system. So hoping in a couple weeks I can like start playing with easing stuff back in and then seeing how it affects her.
There you go. Nice.
Yeah,
So this has been an awesome conversation, and I could definitely keep going, but I know
I
you've
know.
got kids, and I have kids, and anybody listening probably has kids. So I'm going
Probably,
to wrap it
yes.
up, but I want to do it with something fun that I love to do on the Come As You Are episodes. And that's I'm just going to throw some shotgun style questions at you, and they're going to be random questions. And I just want to hear like first gut reaction answer. Are you cool?
Okay, bring it
Okay,
on.
they're not too bad. All right, so we'll start easy. If there was any language that you could learn and speak fluently by, like someone could snap their fingers and you're not fluent in that language, what language would it want to be?
French, because we lived in
French.
France and I gave up learning it the second I got there. The rules of French are just ridiculous. And I have a friend who's French and she agrees with me. Um, and so I gave up very quickly on like actually mastering the language. And then of course when we came back, like I would speak French to my 10-year-old that was a baby at the time. And it is a beautiful language to like speak and hear. And so I'd love to actually like get myself to learn that.
Okay, French, very cool. Um, were you Oh, actually no. If you were playing a game of truth or dare, are you more likely to say truth or dare?
Probably truth.
Go for the truth.
I go through because someone's gonna come the dare or something either incredibly awkward or like disgusting. Like, like have to eat something gross. I'm like, we're not doing that. No. I'll just be brutally honest. It's fine.
Okay, who was your favorite celebrity crush when you were a teenager?
This is very fitting given a recent announcement, but Princess Diaries 2 came out when I was a sophomore in
Uh-huh.
high school, and me and my friends like all kind of divvied up the main guys. So Chris Pine was mine.
Oh, okay.
So if he's not in Princess Diaries 3, I will riot.
Oh, that's funny. He's a cutie. He's still a cutie. So I could go with that. I can get behind you, Team Chris. And we'll wrap up with this. If you could have any superpower that you wanted, what would it be?
Time freezing.
Ooh,
Four
tell me
kids got to
more.
do multiple things can be done at one time, but you've got like kids crying at you and whatnot. It's like if we could just pause it and I could do the things without the overstimulation, it'd be great.
Yeah. I'd never thought of that as a superpower before, but you're right. Yeah, that's a
I was
good
like, I
one.
don't think I've ever thought of that until this exact moment, but yeah, that's my new answer from now on.
There you go. Time freezing. Okay, and then I have a cheesy joke to wrap it up with. Oh, what did the mom say to her? What did the mommy buffalo say? I have to remember my jokes. Remember mom brain. What did the mommy buffalo say to her kid when she dropped him off at school?
Bye, son.
You got it. I like that one. I think it's cute.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
Yes, for sure. Rebekah, thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really enjoyed this conversation. It
Me
was super
too. We
fun.
don't get to talk at co-op. We
I
just like
know. We're
blur
just too
past each
busy.
other. So this
I
is
know. It's like,
great.
oh, hey. Oh, I'm chasing a child. I'm
Yes.
teaching now.
Yes.
Yes. We'll have to do it again intentionally without cameras.
Fantastic. That sounds great. Hopefully when I can have
Yeah.
coffee.
Yes. There you go. But other than that, it has been awesome. And I love the State of the Union. I'm sure a lot of other women who
Yes.
are listening are like,
Highly
oh, that's a really
recommend.
cool idea. Yeah, I might have to steal that as well. This is why I also love these,
Yes.
because there's always something where I'm like, ooh, I'm taking that and I want to throw that into my life because it's such good stuff. Just
Yes.
little simple tweaks, right? We're the best teachers for each other. But I'm going to let you go so you can go take care of the catfish situation.
Yes, that's my life.
I have to probably go feed my kids some actual food now because they've been waiting.
Like,
Very
Mom, we
sweet of
need
them.
real things. Yes.
I know. Like, oh, thank you for this juice. Can we have something to eat now?
Yeah.
It's the life of motherhood and working from home. So
Exactly.
with that, I am going to thank everyone who is here watching this. Thank you for being with us. Drop us a comment. Let us know what part you like the best, what part you related to the most, or share this with a friend because I'm sure they might get some good laughs out of knowing what the struggles are, right? And with that, go out there, make it fun, make it rich, and I will talk to you next week. Bye.